it's a different part of the country. It's one thing to take a trip to Italy or Spain or Costa Rica and learn about a different culture. Guess what? There's a lot of different cultures in our country that some of our players haven't experienced.
And welcome everyone to a Pac-12 chat. I'm Andy Katz, pleased to be joined by Colorado's Tad Boyle. Tad, on Friday night, you guys are part of the first wave of games between the Pac-12 and the SWAC. You'll be at Grambling State. This was an idea a couple of years ago, and now we're seeing it actually play out. I think it's wonderful to actually have the games on the road. Maybe you won't think that result-wise, but just, who knows what'll happen. But I think it's great to see Power 5 programs take a program to a SWAC school. What are your thoughts now that this is finally here?
Well, as I get ready for the trip, Andy, it's one of those things that looks good on paper, right? But then you get into scouting reports and you say, okay, man, that atmosphere down there is going to be pretty hostile and raucous, for your team, which quite frankly is probably a good thing for us. But you're used to playing your first few games at home, so to be going on the road, for a series like this is significant. I think it is. It's never been done before, and so we're embracing it, and we're going to try to use. We've already, used it as an opportunity to try to help educate our players on the significance of HBCUs and the history that they play in our country, and give them a perspective maybe that they don't have. One of the things we probably don't do as good a job of as coaches is teach history, and even the history of basketball. I knew that Willis Reed, went to Grambling. I didn't know that the court had his name on it, until I started watching film for the scouting report, and I see it's Willis Reed Court. And I asked our players, how many of you guys have ever heard of Willis Reed? Not one guy had heard of him. So wow. That is a great opportunity for us to educate our players. And obviously, Willis Reed is one thing. A few of them had heard of Eddie Robinson, the great football coach there at Grambling. But so it's just an opportunity to educate our players on not just sports related things, but obviously socially related topics that really were brought to light a couple of years ago that was the impetus for this series happening.
And in talking to Jamie and George at Pac-12 Media Day, we heard about how all the schools are doing exactly what you're saying, is adding an educational component to it. It's probably easier to do earlier in the season, but how critical do you think that is to include those kinds of things? And you've always been a great advocate of, if you take a foreign trip, make sure there's an educational component. Just don't go play some games, in a nearby country or something like that. That teacher coach aspect, that educator that a lot of coaches originally got into this whole business for, how
right.
critical is that?
It is critical. I mean, and it's something, look, Andy, my dad was a college professor. So that's the house I grew up in. Education was expected. It wasn't, something that we knew we were going to college. It's just a matter of where. Well, there's not a lot of kids that grow up in that kind of a household. So it's great for our players to learn. It's a different part of the country. It's one thing to take a trip to Italy or Spain or Costa Rica and learn about a different culture. Guess what? There's a lot of different cultures in our country that some of our players haven't experienced. We don't have a lot of players on our team from the South, generally speaking. So to see how life is lived down there, see that part of the country, travel is a great way to educate young people, and to travel to an HBCU and to learn about, their historical significance in our country. Something I think that our players, you can see them kind of perk up and they're interested in learning about this, which is great.
Hey, and the reality is, just on the court, a road win is a road win, and road wins do count more. Obviously, different levels of, quad 1, 2, 3, and 4, but a road win still has significance. This is a road trip that you're going to be on. So how are you approaching the overall trip as well?
Yeah, look, I can't even look beyond. We got Tennessee on Sunday, but it's hard for me to look beyond Grambling because I know it's an environment. One of the things Grambling's known for is their band. Guess what? Their band, my guess, Friday night, again, I've never been to a game there, but my guess is it's going to be having that arena rocking and rolling. And so from an atmosphere standpoint, what our players are walking into, we're trying to educate them about that, but they don't know until they've done it. And so, yeah, this is a big trip for us. We've got Tennessee after that, and then we're staying on the road when we go to our MTE in Myrtle Beach. So we're gonna be on the road for a long time, 11 days. Normally for a basketball team, college basketball team, that's unheard of in the first semester or even the second semester. They're shorter trips, but we're looking forward to it. We're embracing it. And a lot of other teams are playing five of their first 6 games at home, maybe one neutral court game or road game. We're playing 5 of our 6 away from Boulder, Colorado.
And last thing, Tad, you have one game under your belt. Defensively, felt like things went in your direction. Offensively, how are you feeling right now? I mean, obviously De Silva is going to be one of your go-tos. Where are you at in terms of offensively?
I think if you talk to any college coach in the country right now, they understand, unless they've got 5 seniors coming back, their offense is usually a little bit further behind their defense. At least ours is. And there's a lot of offenses that you see. I tell our players all the time, when you look around college basketball in November, especially early November, you see some head scratching scores. Well, the reason is most people's offense is not at midseason form. They're still figuring some things out, especially if you brought in a bunch of guys in the transfer portal that are trying to figure it out on the fly. It takes time. And so that's why we have to rely on our defense to keep us in those games when the offense isn't quite sputtering at times or not quite, rolling at midseason form. So that's where we're at. We're not unlike a lot of college basketball teams right now.
Well, Tad, appreciate it. This is great that you guys are going on this trip. It's going to be a long trip, but we'll talk to you when you come back. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay. Thanks, Andy.